What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Warriors Report. Yes, I'm dropping my second video in less than 12 hours. I literally dropped one this morning at 4 a.m. Pacific time. I've just woken up. I was about to eat breakfast, and what do I see? The Toronto Raptors have hired their head coach. Shout out to Adrian Wojnarowski for always being on this. I was announcing the Toronto Raptors are finalizing a deal to hire Memphis Grizzlies assistant Darko Rajakovic as the franchise's next head coach. So for today's video, I'm obviously going to be discussing the hiring of Darko. I'll give you a little bit of a background regarding Darko, and I'm going to be talking about, does this indicate which direction the Toronto Raptors may be heading during this offseason? So if you're ready to watch this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Again, guys, I haven't even ate breakfast. I was literally about to eat breakfast, so please show your support by hitting the subscribe button. That'd be very much appreciated. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. Now, there's no shout out for today's video because I literally just dropped a video about 9 hours ago. No one had gotten the trivia question correct. If someone does, maybe I'll give you guys a shout out in the next video. But let's give you a little bit of a background on Darko. This was an article placed by Adrian Wojnarowski soon after the hiring, and this was stating, Rajakovic, a native of Serbia, emerged out of an exhaustive Raptors process to sell the Raptors president Masai Ujiri and general manager Bobby Webster on his candidacy to replace Nick Nurse. Rajakovic hiring leaves the NBA with no more head coaching openings. Rajakovic arrived from Serbia in 2012. Yes, all the jokes about, potentially the Raptors recruiting Nikola Jokic, but all jokes aside, as the G League head coach with the Oklahoma City Thunder before advancing onto the Oklahoma City bench and stops with the Phoenix Suns and Grizzlies, he eventually elevated into Taylor Jenkins' top assistant with the Grizzlies. The Raptors wanted a coach whom they believed could coach a contending team should the franchise stay on its current path with veterans or a rebuilding roster should they eventually transform the roster to younger players and draft assets, sources said. Now, let's give you a little bit of a background on Darko because I see a lot of Raptors fans saying Masai failed with this hiring. Guys, please do some research on Darko. This is an excellent hiring, and I think, for my personal opinion, he was right up there with Yordi Fernandez as my two personal favorites of who I would have liked the Raptors to hire. Now, Darko, to give you a little bit of a background, he was with the Oklahoma City Thunder around 2012 to 2018-19, and we know all about their developmental system. He also made some stops in Phoenix as well, and that was the season they had that great turnaround where they had a great season as well. So obviously, he has been a big part of success as well as development as well. And in Phoenix, he was Monty Williams' assistant head coach. Now, obviously, he's done wonders in the Memphis Grizzlies roster as well. One name we keep hearing Raptors fans mention is Desmond Bane, and why the Raptors passed on him to draft Malachi Flynn. A lot of the credit, not to say Desmond Bane doesn't deserve the credit he deserves to, for the success he's had in the NBA, but one of the reasons he deserves that credit is also thanks to Darko. Darko has actually worked with Desmond Bane so much to the point where he's forced him to do a lot of things he may not be comfortable with. Obviously, again, Desmond Bane was already a really good shooter, so that's nothing to take away from Desmond Bane. But in terms of like ball handling duties, things that, he could do differently, maybe play a point guard position, even though he's a shooting guard, he's kind of got him in to do different things. And obviously, the Raptors, we know, have a lot of developmental pieces as well, which will be good for the Raptors. We'll talk about their direction and some players in just a moment. But even some of the other guys, Jaren Jackson Jr., Zaire Williams, they all have credited Darko so much for how they have developed the things he has done. They've really talked about some of the things he's done, and they've described it as unusual, things you normally don't see. So obviously, Darko has a different way of thinking, but he also works really well individually with one-on-one players. He gets them to work on things they may be uncomfortable with, and he's a big part of the reason why the Grizzlies have performed the way they have the last several seasons. So yes, I'm going to throw in some Malachi Flynn jokes as well. Maybe he works with Malachi Flynn and maybe gets him to perform a little bit better in him. Maybe he'll just give him some playing time. But all jokes aside, I think Darko is going to be great for the Raptors because we've got a lot of young players. Obviously, we know this. We have a lot of developmental players, but also this is a good hiring because the Raptors have always relied on internal growth to really build their assets, to build their team from the bottom up, and they don't really attract a lot of free agents. So this is a great hiring. And personally, if you ask me, I think this is going to be a great hire, obviously, for Malachi Flynn, Delano Banton, but in particular, I have one player in mind who I think this is going to really benefit, and that is going to be Precious Achiuwa, because like I said, the things he got to do with Desmond Bane and Zaire Williams was to really get them to handle the ball, and they weren't really comfortable with that. And we know Precious keeps trying to dribble the ball, and he's kind of trying to be a modern forward where he's able to have dribbling skills as well as attack the basket. So I think this will be great for Precious Achiuwa. Now, does this indicate where the Raptors are heading in terms of team direction? I don't think so. It doesn't necessarily mean just because they hired a developmental coach that they will go into rebuilding mode. Look, I could be completely wrong. Maybe that is where the Raptors do ultimately decide to go, but I think this is a case of having a coach who has been in the NBA for 10 plus years as an assistant head coach. He's done some great jobs, obviously, in different with different teams in terms of development. But he's also got a lot of success as well. And for those who are saying, well, if he's only good at development, this definitely indicates that the Raptors will rebuild, right? Not necessarily. Memphis's head coach, Taylor Jenkins, has always relied on Darko heavily, even to the point when you read some articles, he's always looked at Darko for advice. So this obviously gives you an idea that he's more than just a developmental coach and an assistant coach as well. He was Taylor's right-hand man. And again, I really like this hiring, man. I cannot emphasize how well this is going to work out for the Raptors in terms of development. Now, I will say one thing in terms of Scottie Barnes. I don't think this is a case of where this is a make it or break it move for Scottie Barnes just because of the talent he has. And I think he's going to play great regardless of whoever the Raptors did decide to hire. But it doesn't hurt. Look, it doesn't hurt Scottie Barnes' development either to have such a good head coach. Now, in terms of direction, I want to talk about that because obviously there's a lot to discuss in terms of the Raptors are definitely going to develop a lot of players, but I think they could continue to win, kind of what they did with Dwayne Casey. Bring in a head coach that's going to change cultures. The one word that Darko uses a lot, and yes, you could call him, dad, and that he uses swag. Obviously, no one uses that anymore, but that's what a lot of the Grizzlies players described him as, using that word to kind of just get their mojo going. We didn't see that with Nick Nurse this season, or with respectfully, in the last several seasons, ever since he's been here either. He's more about focus on winning and about business, strictly business. Whereas Darko, he's with the players, he's laughing, he's getting their mojo up. He's a very relaxed coach. And I'm personally very excited for the Raptors. I'm excited as a Raptors fan to see what he can do with the Raptors. Now, again, this isn't obviously a case of he's going to come in and completely change the team around. It does take time to take teams like the Toronto Raptors, who are kind of in a messy situation, and to change them and build a culture while also developing players and winning as well. So personally, I really like Darko, guys. I cannot emphasize, for fans that are complaining about this, please do some research on Darko because this is an excellent hiring. This is something the Raptors needed the entire offseason. What have we heard? The Raptors need to find a coach that can develop talent. And we found that coach, and also one that has NBA experience that will continue winning as well. So I think it's going to take a little while, maybe a few months after the Raptors start their season, where they may struggle a little bit to kind of find their identity. But after that, I think it's going to be a really good hire for the Raptors. You'll slowly see the shift with the Raptors and their culture and how Darko is going to build upon that. So personally, again, I'm very excited, guys. There's no trivia question. I didn't have the time to really get this. I dropped my breakfast. I came to make this video for you guys, but I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought about Darko and if that was your first choice as well. So that will be it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into this, and I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.